Do you want your elite classes already? Have you ever wanted to be a Michelin star chef? Maybe a top class scientist? Or maybe you wanna be the very best, like no one ever was. Test yourself and hatch them all. Yeah, alright, that's enough of that. But if so, World 4 is the world for you. What's cracking, everyone? Titanicllama here, and as always, in this video I intend to cover everything introduced in World 4. The new skills, the elite classes, the rift, Onyx Statues, and why I feel you shouldn't railroad yourself and focus on these until much later in the game, and finally I'll be explaining the systems from the construction tab that I left out of the previous video. With that said, let's get right into it, shall we? First things first, let's go over the elite classes. Unlocking the elite classes will take a little bit more effort than the last set of classes purely for the fact that we will need a lot more defense and accuracy to get to the map where the elite class trainer is. To start the elite class quest, we just need to reach this map here. Once we're there though, we can fill out all of our food slots with as many healing foods as we have the slots for, which should keep us alive while we kill the green genies that will spawn upon starting the elite class quest. The quest itself is super simple. Just kill all of the green genies, talk to the class trainer again, and you're done. Elite class acquired. So what are the elite classes? Our squires will become divine knights, which specialise in gaming, which is a world 5 skill. While I'm on the topic of the divine knight though, this was the class that I chose to push through World 4 on, as it has a much easier time gaining accuracy, defense, and damage through a couple of the squire's talents, which make it the easiest class to push through this world on, but I'll touch on that more in a sec. Our barbarians will become blood berserkers, which specialise in cooking, which we will go over in the skills section in this video in a little bit. Our wizards will become elemental sorcerers, which specialise in divination, +1. Again, a world 5 skill, so I won't be explaining this skill in this video. Our shamans will become a bubonic conjurer. This guy amplifies the lab in a few ways, which is another skill we will be going over in this video. Our bowmans will become siege breakers, which like the divine knight and the elemental sorcerer specialise in a world 5 skill, sailing in this case, and we will cover all of those skills in the world 5 video. And last but not least, our hunters will become beastmasters, who will specialise in the breeding skill. Again, we will go over all of the World 4 skills here in a little bit. Before I go on though, all of these classes have acronyms and in one case just a nickname, so for the sake of simplicity, I'll go over these now because that's how I will be referring to these elite classes from here on out in the series. Divine Knights are DKs, Blood Berserkers are BBs, Elemental Sorcerers are known as ESs. Are you starting to see a trend form here? The bubonic conjurers are known as, can you guess it? That's right, the bubo. Siege breakers are known as SBs, and finally, beastmasters are referred to as BMs. With that out of the way though, I'll go over why I decided to push through World 4 on my DK. If we have a look at the Squire's talent tab, specifically these two talents here, Balanced Spirit and Precision Power, Balanced Spirit sacrifices damage in return for both accuracy and defense. And at this point of the game, bonuses are really starting to stack up, so with stamps, statues, and bubbles in conjunction with this talent, we shouldn't have much of an issue, if any, when it comes to defense and accuracy on the DK. Precision Power, on the other hand, increases our damage based on how many times we have ranked up our salts in the refinery, as long as we have 1.5 times the accuracy required for the mob that we're fighting. This should outweigh the damage reduction we incur from using Balanced Spirit. These two talents are the main reason why pushing through World 4 on a DK is generally the easiest and fastest option available. With the new classes out of the way, let's go over the new skills introduced in World 4. Just as with the World 3 skills, we can time gate ourselves a little bit if we do not do Gobbo's quests to begin with. That's this dude, by the way. And just like with those World 3 intro quests, these will walk you through the basics of all of the new skills. But enough blabbering, let's get into the first skill we'll go over, which will be the lab. Before I go over the lab mainframe and the chip console, there's one thing that we need to do to unlock all that the lab has to offer. If we go to the World 4 shop, there's 2 items right at the top that we will want to buy. These being the pile of processor chips and the strung jewels. You can buy 1 of each of these items per day, and you will want to buy 3 of the processor chips and 7 of the strung jewels. Once you have the required amount, you'll need to click and hold just like you would do to use a capacity bag to unlock 2 shops that are attached to the lab. One of these will sell chips that we can equip to our characters through the console panel in the lab, and the other will sell jewels, which are additional bonuses that we can link to in the mainframe. Speaking of, let's go over both of those right now. First off, the super easy one. In the console tab, you can see all of your characters with a bunch of boxes under each of them. You will unlock these boxes when you reach certain lab levels on each character. Once the box is unlocked, you can click on it to bring up the chip panel that has all of the chips that you have bought. Hovering over any chip will display its bonus, and clicking on the chip will equip it. To unequip a chip, simply double click on the chip that you wish to unequip. You can also just swap from one chip to another without having to fully unequip them. The mainframe isn't too complicated either. By bringing characters to the lab, interacting with it, and clicking this shiny Upload Player button, that character will be put into a lab tube and become active within the mainframe. Once uploaded, you can then click and drag active characters around within the mainframe. The goal here is, starting from the prism on the left, you want to create a chain using your characters, drawing a line to the grayed out boxes and eventually the jewels that you will unlock. This will light them up. Once a box or a jewel is lit or connected to, its bonus becomes active. As you level up your character's lab level, it will increase the line width within the mainframe, or more simply put, you can spread your characters further apart while still being connected to each other and the bonuses. There are some really powerful bonuses in the lab which will really give your account a nice boost. I won't be going over them all here, but Wired In, No Bubble Left Behind, and Killer Brightside are all really good bonuses that you'll want fairly early on. But with that said, I didn't really focus on this too much because once we get to World 5, we will unlock a bonus that allows us to level up the lab and another skill simultaneously, but more on that in the World 5 video. I did throw most of my characters into the lab once my DK reached the Chocos map to level them up a little bit so I could connect to the Killer Brightside bonus, which is this one here. This made opening the last handful of portals much easier. You can do this sooner, but I wanted to keep my guys out of the lab focusing on skilling, prints, and leveling up cards among other things. And finally, as stated earlier, the Bubo specializes in the lab and has a few talents that can help you out with the lab, mainly these two here. Purple Tube increases the line width for all characters to the right of your Bubo, so if you're trying to reach a little bit further into the lab mainframe, having your Bubo first might be the difference between getting to the next bonus or not. And the Green Tube, on the other hand, will give all characters to the left of your Bubo more lab experience. So if you're happy with how far you are into the lab or simply can't reach the next bonus, placing your Bubo last in the lab will help everybody gain levels faster, increasing their overall line width in the process. So don't be afraid to play around with the mainframe here and there to see what will work better for you and where you are in Idleon. Breeding is the next cab off the rank and it looks intimidating, and that's because it kind of is at first, but it's not too bad once you get the hang of it. To get started with breeding, we need to click on this nest of eggs that will open up the main breeding interface, which consists of 4 tabs: breeding, teams, upgrade, and the database. The database has 3 tabs within it, those being storage, genetics, and shinies. Storage is where you can manage your pets, easily rearranging them and trashing any pets that you no longer need. The genetics tab simply shows you what the abilities of unlocked pets do, and the shiny tab keeps track of all of the shiny pets that you have hatched and what level their bonuses are, along with the progress and how long it will take to reach the next level for each pet. This is probably the best place to explain what shiny pets are, though they won't be something that you progress until much later in the game. Once you reach level 40 breeding, you will be able to unlock the paint bucket in the upgrades tab. This will allow you to breed shiny pets. Placing these shiny pets into the fence yard will initially unlock their bonus, and leaving them there is how you will contribute time to leveling them up. There's really not much else to shiny pets. They are a rather time-gated system, but they are certainly worth it as they give some really good bonuses, all of which are passive and account-wide bonuses. I'm going to jump around a little bit here and explain the breeding tab next. The breeding tab is where we will breed and unlock new pets. There's really not much else to it. Looking up here, you can see how many eggs you currently have to use. Clicking on the last unlocked pet in each world will display the odds of unlocking the next pet in line and display any unlocked bonuses that you have unlocked from the Unlocks tab. To unlock the first pet in World 2 and beyond, you'll need to reach a certain pet from the previous world. These are signified by the key icon above them. For example, when you unlock the red mushrooms, you will be able to start breeding sandy pots. Once you unlock the Pincement in World 2, you'll be able to start breeding sheepies from World 3, so on and so forth. The last thing to note here is you'll want to continue to breed certain pets as you progress through Idleon to try and get stronger versions of those pets, for use in the arena and territories, which I'll touch on more when we get to the Teams tab. Next up though, we have the Upgrades tab. This tab contains modifiers that affect breeding in multiple ways and can be purchased upon reaching certain breeding levels, which I'll go over now. At level 1, there's 2 bonuses open to us, the obvious one being genetic splicing, which allows you to spend genes gained from splicing to increase the chance of unlocking pets in the breeding tab. What's splicing, I hear you ask? To begin splicing, you must purchase the Sappy DNA Splicer from the World 4 shop, which you should do for each and every character as they are decent stat sticks. But with the Sappy Splicer equipped, you can gain genes from all of the mobs within World 1. When logging into a character that has been farming a monster from World 1, if you look to the top left of the AFK Gains window, you'll see this gene spiral here. Clicking on this will convert all of your AFK gains into genes, which you can then spend in the breeding tab to increase the odds of unlocking the new pets. Each world has its own splicer that you will need to farm the recipe for and craft, which I'll go over where to get them from in a sec. Before we do though, it's important to note that once you've upgraded to the World 2 splicer, it will work for World 1 and World 2 mobs. Once you've upgraded to the World 3 splicer, it will be able to splice all mobs from Worlds 1, 2, and 3, so on and so forth. Alrighty, so where do we get the recipes for the World 2, 3, and 4 splicers? Well, the World 2 splicer recipe drops from Pincerman, the World 3 recipe drops from Thermeisters, and finally the World 4 recipe drops from Octodars. You will need to farm them all eventually, as the World 1 splicer is a material to make the World 2 splicer, the World 2 splicer is used to make the World 3 splicer, and guess what? The World 3 splicer is used to make the World 4 splicer. Splicer. Alright, I think I've said it enough now. With that out of the way, the second and much less obvious bonus that we can level up at level 1 breeding is the Nothing bonus. If you have nothing in this window actively selected, you can still hit the upgrade button to level up your Nothing level, which you will want to do as this increases your breeding experience gain. Try not to forget about this one. At level 5 breeding, you will be able to unlock the Egg Capacity bonus, which increases how many eggs that you can store at once. At level 10, you can unlock the Breedability Pulse. Once this is purchased, when hatching new pets, you will occasionally get pets with this pink background. Putting these in the fence yard will slowly increase the Breedability Pulse modifier. This only affects the next pet in line, so once you've unlocked that pet, you'll need to get breedable versions of that pet to start building the modifier again on the next pet in line. At level 15, you can unlock the Fence Yard extension, which as the name suggests, extends the fence yard allowing it to hold more pets. This is handy because stacking multiple of the same breedable pet will increase the previously discussed modifier faster, and stacking multiple shiny pets will level them up faster as well. At level 20, you can unlock Rarity of the Egg. With this one unlocked, when your nest is at full capacity, whenever you're meant to gain a new egg, instead there's a chance to upgrade one of your eggs in the nest to a higher tier egg, which again increases the odds of hatching new pets. At level 25, you can unlock Blooming Axe. This one makes it so your foraging pets contribute a portion of their foraging speed to combat power, which means eventually you won't have to waste a slot in territories on a combat pet, but I'll explain this a little bit more when we get to the Teams tab. At level 30, you can unlock Past Present Brood, which is another multiplier making it easier to unlock new pets. This only affects World 2 and later pets because the way it works is the more pets you have unlocked from the previous world, the higher the multiplier will be for the next world. At level 40, you can unlock the Paint Bucket, which is how you will start breeding shiny pets, which I've already explained. At level 50, you can unlock Overwhelmed Golden Egg, which will increase your breeding odds based on the total level of all of your kitchen upgrades, which I'll explain kitchen upgrades in the cooking section a little bit later on. At level 60, you can unlock Failsafe Restitution Cloud. Where does Lava come up with these names? This is a modifier that will increase the odds of unlocking the next pet in line each time you fail to do so, up to a cap, and this cap can be increased by leveling up this bonus up to a maximum of 250 stacks. And finally, at level 70, you can unlock Shadowshell Iteration, which makes it so every time you use the last egg in the nest, there's a chance to instantly spawn 2 brand new eggs. The level 90 bonus hasn't been implemented just yet, so just ignore that one. And last but not least, we have the Teams tab, which contains the Fence Yard, which I've mentioned a few times now, the Arena, and Territories. These slots here are your Fence Yard, and placing the pink backgrounded or breedable pets into here is how you will increase the breedability pulse bonus. And later you will place shiny pets in here in order to level those up too. The Arena is a fun little minigame that unlocks at level 8 breeding, which you can attempt over and over for 5 minutes using this skill here from the BM's talent tree, or once a day if you're not using it. The idea here is to form teams from the pets that you have bred and fight in the arena trying to clear the highest wave that you possibly can. Doing so will unlock the extra pet slots in the arena so you can use larger teams to try and push to higher waves. And there's also a handful of bonuses like extra damage and money from monsters, as well as new post office crates to spend your mail on, among others. And the last thing to go over in breeding is territories. These are very important to complete and are similar to the arena, except you can try and beat these as many times as you want, as often as you want. Once you have unlocked a territory, you can then place pets into them which will start producing spices. As you unlock more territories, you will notice that they begin to require combat pets as well as foraging pets. And this is where the Blooming Axe bonus that we mentioned earlier comes into play. With a high enough Blooming Axe, you will no longer need to put combat pets into these territories, freeing up space for more foraging pets, which means more spices more often. You will also want to continue to replace the pets in here as you start breeding higher power level pets, as it will produce spices faster. Spices are very important for the cooking skill, which we'll go into right now. Cooking is easily the simplest of the skills within World 4, but it does have a lot of RNG attached to it, which can either make it a very slow skill or not too bad depending on how lucky you get. All of the cooking skill is handled through these kitchens here. You start out with one unlocked and can purchase more using in-game money, with each new kitchen costing a fair chunk more than the last. Clicking on an unlocked kitchen will bring up the cooking interface. There's two major buttons here that we need to talk about, those being the new recipe and upgrade buttons. The upgrade button will allow you to spend the spices that you've been gathering from the breeding skill to increase the speed, fire, and luck of each kitchen, and these levels are unique to each kitchen. Speed is how quickly you will cook meals that you have unlocked through recipes. Fire increases the recipe cooking speed, reducing how long it will take to reach higher flame ranks. And finally, luck increases the chances of unlocking a new recipe from any given combination of spices. That all probably sounds like mumbo jumbo, so let's take a look at the new recipe button and fill in all of the blanks. The new recipe button will open this interface here, allowing you to use the spices that you have gathered from the breeding skill to create new meals to cook. You can place up to 4 different spices into the recipe window, which will give you various possible dishes that you can unlock, and they can be seen here. Once you have selected the spices that you want to use, you must click this Begin Recipe button. Note that this does not actually consume any spices. Once a recipe has begun cooking, a timer will pop up telling you how long that recipe will take to reach the first fire tier. Once this time has passed, you can then either finish the recipe or let it continue to cook till it hits a higher fire tier, which will increase the odds of unlocking a new meal. This is where a lot of the RNG comes into play, because the same combination of spices will have multiple different meals that you can receive, and meals that you have already unlocked stay in the pool of possible meals when finishing a recipe. So anywho, increasing the fire level makes reaching higher fire tiers faster, and increasing the luck reduces the odds of a recipe giving you the same meal over and over. Alrighty. With that out of the way, once you have unlocked a meal, you can set your kitchens to cook that meal. You can then spend those meals at this menu NPC fella to increase the bonus that that meal provides. Oh yeah, I kind of forgot to mention, much like a lot of things in Idleon, these meals will give you account-wide bonuses, and cooking is kind of like the alchemy of World 4. It boosts pretty much everything in the game. Do you want more damage, defense, accuracy, skilling efficiency, money, experience, and increased libido? You can get it all and more from cooking. Boy, if I had $1 for every time I've used this joke, I'd have $2. Anywho, as mentioned in the elite class section, the BB specializes in cooking. This talent here can be used to consume half of your current fire tier to try and unlock new recipes without completely resetting your fire tier to 0. This is helpful if a certain combination of spices that you are trying to cook with still have multiple meals left to unlock. The BB also has this talent here, which increases the amount of time that you will get when using ladles, but only for the BB himself. But what are ladles, I hear you ask? Well, if you leave a character to AFK within the kitchen area, they will gain both cooking experience and generate ladles, which you can kind of think of as time candies specifically for the cooking skill. And I think that wraps up all of the new skills introduced in World 4. No doubt I've missed something, so feel free to tell me all about it in the comment section below. No humorous interlude in this video, moving right on to Onyx Statues. Alright, so Onyx Statues are a higher tier above gold, and each statue must be unlocked individually. To do this, you will need to start the quest line from this monolith on the Flambeige map. The first quest requires you to have 250 total statue levels across your account and bring 17 unique types of statues to the monolith, which isn't too bad. The second part of the quest, which actually rewards you with the Onyx tools, requires you to bring 20,000 power statues to the monolith. These will be consumed upon handing in the quest. Once you have the tools, you must drop them onto the statue NPC in World 1, much like we did with the golden tools. But this is only the process of being able to start turning your statues into Onyx statues. To actually turn a statue into the Onyx version, then you need to drop another stack of exactly 20,000 of that particular statue that you want to Onyx onto the NPC within World 1. And this must be done for each and every statue in the game, which for now, these requirements are bonkers to say the least. I personally wouldn't waste my time trying to get this done until you have maxed out your skinny 0-cal vial, which is the snakeskin one, have around 10 times drop rate at the very least, and own a Choco chip, which is a chip that you can buy from the lab, which makes farming crystal mobs a lot easier. For reference, I onyxed my statues when I had 14 times drop rate, a Choco chip, and my crystal spawn chance was 1 in 12, which is a stat that you can only see using external websites like Idleon Efficiency. And it still took me over a month and a little over 1400 hours worth of time candies on my main account to get this done. So for this reason, I'd highly suggest forgetting Onyx statues exist until much later in the game. Alrighty. We have the Rift, the last few construction systems that I left out of the World 3 video, and the boss, and then we're done. The Rift can be unlocked by visiting the Rift Ripper NPC on the Octodars map. This NPC is a little bit out of the way and can be easily missed. Clicking on this rope dangling from the sky will take you up to where the NPC is. The quest itself isn't too difficult, you just need to bring 5 lost batteries, 878 purple mushcaps, and 592 wormtails to the NPC, which will give you access to the Rift. Once you enter the Rift, you can walk over to this structure here, which will give you a challenge to complete. Upon completion, you will be able to progress further into the Rift and be given another challenge to complete. Upon reaching certain milestones within the Rift, you are rewarded with certain bonuses. The Rift mobs are a lot stronger than anything that you will face in World 4, so again, I would suggest leaving this for a little while and coming back to it. Don't forget it exists though, as there are some really nice quality of life improvements in the Rift. For example, reaching the 6th Rift will make it so the Trapper drone from World 3 will automatically collect your traps once a day, which if you're using 20-hour traps, it practically makes trapping a completely hands-off skill, only really requiring input when you want to update or move your traps to a different critter. There are a lot more bonuses than this, but too many to go over in this video, so I'll leave a link to the Rift page of the wiki in the description if you want to check out what you have to look forward to. Speaking of the Trapper drone though, that is where I stopped explaining systems in the World 3 video, which means we will have it, the automation arm, and the atom collider to go over in this video. Let's start with the Trapper drone. The Trapper drone is a super simple yet massive quality of life boost to the trapping skill. Once unlocked, you can remotely place and collect traps to and from any critter location that you have currently unlocked. What's even better is you don't even have to cycle through your characters to do so. You can come here on your hunter or now maybe a beastmaster and use these arrows to select each different character on your account and place traps on their behalf. Then, once everyone's traps are finished, simply clicking on this collect all button will automatically collect and replace all of your traps in one foul swoop. Do note though, The critters will drop at your feet, so don't quickly teleport away thinking that they've automatically been deposited into your storage chest. But who'd ever do that, right? Right? Next up, we have the automation arm, and as the name suggests, this will automate a couple of things within the game. The auto arm only has 5 levels, and with each level you will unlock another of its features. At level 1, it will automatically refill your forge with ores and oils as long as you have stocks of those in your storage chest. At level 2, it will restock any consumed food you have equipped on your characters, again, as long as you have stocks of those foods within your storage chest. Be careful with this one though, as not to leave any event foods on your skilling characters or else it will burn through those really quickly. At level 3, you can remotely access any worship totem that you have completed wave 10 or higher on, but only to worship for souls. You still have to go to the totem maps if you want to do the tower defense to push for higher waves. At level 4, it will automatically deposit all anvil production items, but it will only do this once per day. So once your production speed is high enough to cap out multiple times, you'll still need to deposit these manually, here and there. And finally, at level 5, you unlock the option to consume 20 library books at a time to guarantee the book that you next check out from the library will be the highest possible level that it can be based on your current maximum book level, which again can be seen in the library interface. A final thing to note here is all of these, bar the totem easy access, can be toggled on and off whenever you need. Last, but certainly not least, we have the Atom Collider, which is something that won't be super useful right now, but later in the game it is essential. This gives far too many bonuses to go over here, so I'll link the wiki page to the Atom Collider in the description, but what the Atom Collider does is it will turn excess resources created mainly through the 3D printer into atoms that can be spent to unlock and level up some really powerful bonuses for the late game. As for how to set the Atom Collider up, it is pretty easy. I would suggest just to leave this switch here in the off position and click this resource number until it displays 1050. What this means is once you have a max stack of any given material in the game, any extra material produced will automatically be converted into atoms. It's fairly set and forget. You just need to come back here to this interface to level up the atom bonuses themselves. Another thing these atoms will be used for is to level up your alchemy bubbles. Once a material cost to level up a bubble exceeds 100 million, you can then spend atoms to level up the bubble instead of materials. This is referred to as atoming bubbles. And as always, we will finish off with the boss fight breakdown. Unlike previous worlds, there is no quest related to unlocking boss keys. Instead, the keys to enter this boss fight can be farmed from the mobs on the last map of World 4. However, much like the previous worlds, you can also get these boss keys from both the Colosseum and the World 4 mini-boss. So this boss really lives up to its name, which if you are unaware of is Massive Troll. For this fight, you can't just wail on the boss willy-nilly, as it will have a shield up most of the time, reducing all damage to 10 per hit. However, throughout the fight, he will give you tasks to complete, like killing a certain amount of monsters, or killing one specific monster among a large group of other monsters, which these tasks aren't too bad. Then there are tasks like climbing or descending the rope to the left of the arena at a specific time, or looking left or right and hoping that you win a coin flip. If you successfully complete the boss's task, the shield will be removed, allowing you to get in a few hits. If unsuccessful, the boss will regain a good chunk of its health though. These tasks can be infuriating, but with persistence you should be able to kill this boss as soon as you are able to reach the last map of World 4. The real boss fight here is keeping your cool and not throwing your phone or PC from one side of the room to the other in a fit of rage. If you can do that, then World 5 is yours for the taking. Again, there'll be a bunch of links down in the description below for a few things that I've covered today, but with that being said, I've been Titanicllama, you've been watching a video, and I'm out. Peace.